Can you hear? Can you hear the background? Can you hear the atmosphere? Can you hear me? My place in this Santitam area resides almost opposite Banom Café and Space, and above a restaurant, almost above a restaurant called Mao Yum. I think that's what it's called. But this episode is to talk about local products, but with familiar sort of frontage, I suppose, or familiar appearance. Now, there's two things in particular. There's a convenience store in Chiang Mai, which if you're familiar with Chiang Mai and certain areas, then you would have seen it, of course. And also a brand of water. I tried recording an episode about this water before, but there was a technical issue and I couldn't put it out there. So I'm combining the water with this convenience store to give a bit of extra value, and because they're both linked. And the reason I'm saying that is, and firstly, one other thing, you might hear some music, and that's a part of the atmosphere as well. And it will probably, the restaurant below me, or it's not quite below me, but almost below me, the side of where I'm living right now, is it's adjacent, it's right next to, but it's kind of a lower level, of course, than where I am. Well, not of course, but I'm at a balcony level, which tells you that I'm above ground level, I suppose. So there's a little chain. I only found out recently how small this company is. Bear with me 1 second while we let that vehicle go past. A motorbike, of course. So there's a small chain, and I believe these facts are correct as I'm recording this, but apparently they have 4 branches only, and it's called Lone Star Mini-mart. I've seen a couple of branches, and I was intrigued because, of course, Thailand has Family Mart, it has 7-Eleven, and probably 1 or 2 others. But I saw this one, and I don't remember seeing it in previous trips to Thailand or previous times I've been living in Thailand or different areas. So I was quite sort of, it just tests my sort of recognition ability, and I wonder, how, it's always good to support these smaller companies, but I was worried that this particular company would be as big as Family Mart, 7-Eleven. And of course, there are certain things that those places will do that this place doesn't do. And you sometimes have to go to those places. But there's apparently 4 of these, and they don't do, as far as I know, this particular one doesn't do things like toasties. That's not to say that any of the other 4 or the other 3, therefore, don't do those. But it's got all your essentials, basically. So I don't know how quickly they've expanded, but it's something that, the place that I go to, the one that's nearest to me, is just kind of about 4-5 businesses along, so very close. And there's also a product they sell in there, which is water, of course. And I've seen this in 1 or 2 restaurants as well. And this particular water is Free Bird drinking water. I'm reading it right now. It's got a picture of what look like penguins in blue drawing design or font as well. And it's probably, I think it might be 850 ml, so not your full litre. Might not. I think it's that. But again, I asked about this, and they said it's a local company, and this was really pleasing to me. I mean, there are in Thailand, and you might see this, there's not quite vending machines, there are vending machines everywhere, but there's the water machines where you put your big empty water barrel under the little tap, and you can just get water for, I think, like for 1 baht. I've heard different things about these. A lot of people use these, not just Thais, mostly Thais maybe. I've heard some people say, well, they might be not as hygienic because insects and things can go in the spout, or animals could do something to it. But, I don't think as a general rule there's a major problem with those. But I was wondering whether I should purchase this drinking water, because first of all it's drinking water, and if you live in other countries, well, such countries such as the UK where I'm from, if you can't tell from my voice, my accent, or my voice basically, we have restaurants where you can order a bottle of water, but then there's also tap water, and it's always kind of looked down upon by some people, some members of society maybe, which is ridiculous. But it's, I wondered what this water was like, whether it was just bottled from that kind of thing. And I thought, well, I heard it was a local company, and it's not half the price, but it's 6 bottles or something for 25 baht. For double that, you can probably get one of the bigger brands for twice as big bottles. So it's not much in it really, and I want to help the local businesses. Again, I don't know how local this is, but this is Chiang Mai, and the water tastes fine. The water's absolutely fine, and I just feel, of course, I get through them quicker because they're slightly smaller than the big ones. But again, these are sold in Lone Star Mini-mart, but they might be sold elsewhere. And as I say, I've seen them in at least one other restaurant, maybe even 2, in this area, because that's a good thing about restaurants here, and in some restaurants in South Korea. I like to compare the two sometimes, but you get free water on tap, literally on tap. There's no obligation to buy a drink in some of these places. Cafes as well, you get that in Thailand, in South Korea, and I know that some cafes in the UK, there's complimentary water there, but you've normally got to buy coffee at least. I mean, first of all, that's a cafe, so of course you should buy one drink. I don't agree that if you're hungry in a cafe, you have to eat their product, because in the UK especially, they're extortionate prices for a bit of cake. Coffee is expensive enough. Drifting off the topic here, but what I'm saying is to compare that to, you should be able to take your own snack in there. That's why I think, and I have done before. But in Thailand, let's just stick to Thailand. You go to a restaurant, there's water, there's a cup of water, cups with the water. Just help yourself. It's not, you don't have to buy a bottle of water. If you feel like, you want the bottled water because you think it's more pure, or you think it's more reliable, or you want a can of Coke or something, then there's no stopping you doing that. So yeah, this is just something I wanted to put into one episode. Lone Star Mini-mart, look out for them. I don't know how big they're growing, or whether they're just going to have these 4 branches, whether there's even 4, and the facts I was told was incorrect, but it sounded correct. And whether she was telling me there's 4 others rather than 1 other, she might have thought, oh yeah, there's 4 more, but she meant I was asking how many in total. I don't really care the difference between 4 or 5. If she had said 50 or 100 in Thailand, I'd be like, oh okay, they're quite big, and I've just never noticed before. So that's it. There's a couple of Chiang Mai, let's call them brands. Maybe, I don't think they're franchises, because they're perhaps not big enough to be franchises. But yeah, it's just a thing. As much as you might want to go in 7-Eleven and other places like that, just consider supporting the local companies when you can. And there is a 7-Eleven a little bit further from me, a couple of streets away, and down a slightly more of a walk for sure. And but this Mini-mart just happens to be on my doorstep, pretty much. I'll leave you with a bit of atmosphere, whether it's a bit of traffic, or a bit of the music, or just the night. Okay, see ya.